Oh boy, we're gonna be reviewing a pretty controversial game. It's Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. Okay, first off, this is probably the worst title to a video game ever. Pac-Man 2, it just completely ignores the other games that came way before this. I mean, what about Pac-Mania? Or Pac-Land? Or Miss Pac-Man? It just completely ignores all of those games. Anyways, Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures was released for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. This is the version of the game that I'll be reviewing for this review. They're both pretty much the same game except for the bonus arcade game you get for collecting free cartridges hidden throughout the game. In the Super Nintendo version, is you get Miss Pac-Man, and in the Genesis version, you get Pac Jr. So without further ado, let's get into the game. So the game begins with the first mission, which is giving your baby a bottle of milk. Wow, that's one hell of an adventure. Wow. So in this game, you don't directly control Pac-Man, but you can tell him where to look, and you can affect his mood and other things by using the slingshot that you have. Mood affects his receptiveness. You also have some power pellets, which can be used to transform Pac-Man into Super Pac-Man. Let him eat goats and fly over some obstacles. So the first mission is pretty easy. You just hit the bird to knock the bottle off the stand, and then Pac-Man will milk the cow, and then you'll get the bottle of milk that you need. Then all you have to do is go back home and you've beaten the mission. So after each mission, you get this cutscene of the villain of the game saying that to the ghost that you've been defeated by Pac-Man, they must suffer the consequences. And then the villain zaps the ghosts into their invisible forms, so they're just eyes. Like when Pac-Man, eats a ghost, the ghosts just become invisible and all you see is their eyes and stuff. And that's what happens to them. But it's kind of funny that he's getting mad over the ghost stopping them from Pac-Man doing mundane tasks like getting milk and stuff. I mean, that's kind of a little ridiculous. So anyways, the next mission is you have to get a mountain flower for this girl named Lucy. Who the hell is Lucy? I have no idea. She never appears in any game after this, so yeah. Now's the time I should mention that you need to collect free ID cards to enter the boss at the end of the game. And that's why you need to use the power pellets, because the ghosts have the ID cards and you need to use those. So anyways, you use the pass that Miss Pac-Man gave you in the beginning of the mission to go on a tram. So anyways, you go on the tram, you get there and then you use a rope to get to a higher area. You then notice that there's a hang glider stuck in the tree. You hit it with a slingshot and it releases one of the most frustrating parts of the game. The hang gliding segment is so frustrating. And later on there's also a similar section with a minecart. What makes these sections so frustrating is that you have to go through a course and you have to dodge several obstacles along the way. If you mess up once, there is no checkpoint. You have to redo the entire segment all over again, which is really frustrating. And all it comes down to is just a whole bunch of trial and error bull crap. So anyways, after that segment, you land safely on another part of the mountain. Then you get the flowers you need. So after that, you use these vines from these trees to open a hole in the ground. Pac-Man falls in there and he ends up at the beginning of the mountain. And then you go back home and that's it. The third mission of this game is getting back your son's stolen guitar that was stolen by some ghosts. So anyways, you're given a train pass by Miss Pac-Man and you end up in the city. So you eventually end up in this sort of plaza area, and then there's a balloon man selling balloons. You have to anger Pac-Man and then pop the balloons the balloon man has. The balloon man, as a response, will blow up Pac-Man, leading him onto the top of a building. This leads to yet another frustrating part of the game. In this segment, you need to make Pac-Man jump by shooting at him. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure how you make Pac-Man jump. I know he had to shoot at his feet, but what makes this part really frustrating is you had to time it. Because he does like a run animation right before he gets ready to jump, but you had to time it, and it gets really frustrating. Especially for me, because I'm not exactly sure where to aim. So that's what makes this part frustrating, especially for me. Usually I would use Super Pac-Man to get past it, because Super Pac-Man can just fly over things. So anyways, you eventually end up on top of a building that's being constructed. Pac-Man steps on a loose beam. Which causes the loose beam to fall and him to fall as well. So you end up at the construction site, and right next door is a factory. And there's this guy guarding it. You have to anchor Pac-Man and then be more attentive to the guard. So eventually the guard will try to grab Pac-Man. You shoot him, as revealed as the ghost that stole your son's guitar. Then you transform into Super Pac-Man and you get the guitar back. And like always, you head back home, and that's the end of the mission. The fourth and final mission, yes, final mission. There are only 4 missions in this game. So anyways, the fourth and final mission is you have to stop the evil villain of the game, and he's created a monster and you need to stop him and stuff. And you need to head back into the city. So you have to go back to that plaza area again. Then you have to go past the balloon man, and then you'll find a music store. And then you have to make Pac-Man angry because he needs to kick his shopping cart that's blocking his way. And then he'll go down this path which will lead him into another area. You end up into other part of the city. There's this fire hydrant, and Pac-Man needs to be angry for this. He's probably already angry from the previous thing, but anyways, yeah. So he'll tape. There's this fire hydrant that's leaking, and then he'll tape the fire hydrant. The pressure of the hydrant will cause the manhole to pop open, and then it will lead to the sewers, which you need to go down into. So you go to the end of the sewer, which leads to a ladder, which takes you to a factory. And this is where the final boss is hiding. First, you need to go on this conveyor and jump a whole bunch of obstacles and stuff. It's kind of like the hang glider minecart sections, but not exactly, because it's not exactly automated as those sections were. And this segment is as bad as those sections, but still a little frustrating. So after that, you end up in this biochemical lab, and there's this laser in the middle of the lab that you need to jump over. Alright, so summon a whole bunch of ghosts, and you do not want that to happen because you'll need to use your power pellet to transform into Super Pac-Man. You don't want that to happen because you want to save your power pellets for the final boss because you'll need them for the final boss. So after that, you arrive at the boss door, and this is where you need to use your free ID cards that you've collected throughout the game, and you need to put them in specific slots. If you don't put them in the specific slots that the game wants, then a bunch of ghosts will come after you, and you have to fight them. Which once again, you don't want let that to happen. Which slots do you need to put them in? I don't know. The game never tells you specifically. In other words, I had to friggin' Google this to friggin' figure out which slots the ID cards are supposed to go into. The slots that the ID cards are supposed to go in are slots 1, 4, and 5. How would you figure that out? I have no idea. The game never, as far as I know, the game never tells you this. So you just have to know for somehow. I don't know. It's just a bunch of trial and error bullcrap. So for the boss fight, you need to use the power pellets to transform Pac-Man to Super Pac-Man. You fight off against the gum monster, but kind of from the little text there at the bottom, it kind of looks like it says "Come Monster." It is very weird to think of. So the boss is pretty easy once you know what to do. You have these little machines that make the gum monster bigger, and so what you need to do is lower him down to the little pit down there, and you need to to do that, you need to suit his face, and all you need to do to prevent him from becoming bigger is to prevent the ghost from hitting the little switch on the little machine, which that machine causes the gum monster to get more gum and cause them to become bigger. So you need to prevent that from happening. So overall, this fight is not that bad. So after the boss fight, the villain of the game swears revenge. And don't worry, he'll be back. He only appears never again. It's kind of weird. Anyways, so after that, you close on a image on Pac-Man and his family. And yeah, that's it. Pac-Man saves the day, and that's it. So overall, what do I think of Pac-Man 2? Well, let's go over some of the pros and the cons. So the pros to this game is that it has a lot of charm. It's definitely, especially with Pac-Man's mood system and the way it reacts to things, it is kind of charming. It is kind of, just have this little neatness to it. And the game has an interesting concept, playing kind of like a point-and-click adventure game, except for the fact you don't necessarily control the main character. The game also has a neat setting, taking place in a real-world environment, sort of to speak. And it also has the little arcade games as a bonus, which is a neat little addition. The cons to this game is that there are frustrating segments like the hang glide segment, which is total trial and error and is very frustrating. There's also segments which leave you clueless and have you wondering what to do, like with the boss door situation. How would you guess the correct combination? It's just total trial and error. It's also a very short game. There's only 4 missions in the game, and if you know what you're doing, you can beat the game in less than an hour. And lastly, why is this called Pac-Man 2? This has nothing to do with the original Pac-Man. It's a completely different game. So why the hell did they call it Pac-Man 2? And so my final rating for this game is a 5.5 out of 10. Overall, the game may have a lot of charm and it may have an interesting concept, but it's tampered by frustrating repetitive gameplay. But I don't think it's as bad as some people may want you to believe. But this game does have a lot of dumb fun to it. If you could find this game for cheap, and if you think that this game looks like an interesting, dumb, fun time, then you might want to pick it up. Even though this game may be flawed, I think you could do a lot worse when it comes to Pac-Man games. Well, that's it for my review of Pac-Man 2. I'd like to thank you all for watching and have a nice day.